Are we living through the end of the world right now? This is a big question. I think a lot of people are going, oh, this is the end is nigh and all that. Remember all the posters you've seen probably in films when people are walking around with the boards, the end is nigh and all this. No, the world is not ending. The world's about halfway through its actual cycle. It will end at some point, as everything does in this material existence that we live in. But the Earth's the convergence of many different cycles at the moment. We've got a climate cycle that's ending, so that's quite a big thing. There's quite a big shake up on the planet. We've got a financial cycle that's ending, so again we're looking at chaos in the financial sector. What we've got to do is look at a few videos and seeing the mess that people are making of this financial sector, and of course the wealthy are benefiting and the poor are suffering, as usual. That's always what happens with these things, be it good or bad. That's your decision. Also, we're at the end of a war cycle, which is why as everything's brewing up and looking like we're going to go into a major conflict, I don't feel that we are. I think most human beings want peace on this planet. And if you realise that we are actually creating a reality together, then that peace will hold. But it looks like we're always teetering on the edge of an enormous catastrophe when it comes to war. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But we will have wars, and some possibly big ones in the future. But the main world war, I feel, has been curtailed. So why is this all happening? Well, we live in cycles. Your body lives in a cycle. Whether you're male or female, it really doesn't matter. You're still in cycles. Women obviously have the menstrual cycle. Men have their own cycles as well. And a lot of it is connected with the moon. The moon and the astrology of how this all works. And our ancestors knew this. And our ancestors could which is the Iron Age of where we're living at the moment, and we're hitting the bottom of the Iron Age and coming up into a Golden Age. I think it's called the Sattva Yuga, which is the Golden Age of humanity. So we are, it's literally what they call in the Bible the apocalypse, the apocalypto, the lifting of the veil. It's lifting. So you're seeing more into this world. And if that's not apparent to you, then I don't know what is, because you can see a lot more of what's happening in the background because of this age of information that we're seeing. So in the Vedas, they talk about coming out of the Kali Yuga, which is the Dark Age, and they talked about killing teachers, men not knowing whether they're women or men, women not knowing whether they're men or women. So it's this mix-up of energy inside of you that is really confusing and upsetting. That's what they talked about in the Vedas. In the Mayan prophecy, they talk about the ninth wave. It's the ninth wave of consciousness coming in. There's actually higher energies coming in onto the planet right now. And that coincides with what NASA talks about, with more protons being in the space that we're going through in our solar system. So coincidence or not, that's up to you to decide. But to me, that is like, wow, more protons. And when you realize that protons, every single proton in your body, which are trillions, right? Trillions of protons, has all the information of the universe in those protons. And that's coming down to quantum physics now. So mind-blowing in that in itself. And to understand that in itself is like, what are you talking about, Peter? But it is all the protons in your body has all the information of the universe. This is a holographic universe. So that's quite incredible in itself. So the Mayans knew this, and also this comes with the Vedas, the Mayan philosophy, and the Hopi American Native Indians. The Native American Hopi Indians, I'll rephrase that. They talked about this as the Great Shake-Up, the third Great Shake-Up. So I feel more people are waking up to their spiritual path, which is creating this more peaceful transition, because we have the choice whether this goes peacefully or whether this goes into real chaos. We have this choice as human beings right now, and it's so important for us to understand that, because you can play your part just by doing the work on yourself to make yourself go into this world in a more peaceful manner as all the chaos happens around you. which is actually what's really happening in my life, because I used to go into the conspiracies of the world, and it used to really upset me to think, how can this injustice happen to these people? How can this happen to these people? I understand that a little bit more, and I'm finding more peace within inside myself, and I'm doing a lot more work in my local area with Qigong and coaching and all sorts of other modalities like sound healing, and I'm seeing beautiful transitions in people, absolutely amazing transitions of how they're turning their perspective around and seeing things in a different way, and that is also vibrating across into their circles of people that they know. So this is how this area is changing around me. You can do the same as well, to do the same, to get this understanding inside of you to make you feel, wow, okay, I can make a difference, but who am I? And that's the first question I ask on the Dream Method, my coaching program, is what do you actually want? Because a lot of people aren't connected with their inner self. Ilchi Lee, my teacher, used to call it the bird of the soul. But it's like your true self, your inner self. What does that actually want? What do you actually want? And when you whittle down the issues that my clients have, like, oh, I want to be noticed, I want to be heard, I want to be recognized, it really comes down to I want to be loved. And usually that's down to an emotional trauma from the past, where maybe your father or your mother ignored you, or your siblings, and you're not heard, and you develop these protection habits and mechanisms to make you feel like you have to behave in this way and stop people actually hurting you. That has to end. This is the end of your world in that respect, because that vibration is really going to suffer in the new energy that's coming onto the planet. You need to be releasing all of this, because if you hang on to the Titanic as it's sinking, it will drag you down. You don't have to be dragged down by this. It's not going to end, but it's going to be very chaotic for a few years yet. So actually connecting more deeply with yourself will help you find that inner peace where you can navigate through this world a lot more easier. And I found that with Qigong, and I found it with the Dream Method, and I've put a five-step program in the Dream Method to help people uncover the emotional wounds, realize that this is not them. Self-realization. Yogananda spoke about it beautifully. You're not this body, right? You're not this body. And then you embrace actually what you are, which is energy. We're all energy. Einstein says that everything is energy, everything's vibrating, everything's energy. And then you actualize what you actually want. Because once you cleared all the veneer that you put over all these old emotions inside of you, which is what Dr. Gabor Mate talks about a lot. And when I saw his research, I understood the process that I took to get out of my traumatic childhood. He nails it on the head. He's like, "What? This is exactly what I've been through, and this is what I feel." And I was amazed when one of my clients actually turned me on to Dr. Gabor Mate. And it's not putting that veneer and keeping the protection mechanisms over those emotional wounds. It's actually uncovering them and letting you be the human being you want to. If you want to find out a little bit more about the Dream Method, you can click the link below. It's actually wrapped up in a self-image webinar. Self-image is the mental picture you have of yourself, which actually comes from your conditioning. So what the Dream Method does, it helps to get rid of the conditioning and helps you actually find the human being, or not the human being, the energy inside of you that actually creates this human being. So the good news is it's not the end of the world. The good news is you can change, and the good news is there are steps available for you to make that change. I look forward to connecting with you in the next video. Till then, be well and keep shining.